Welcome to The Vital Point. I'm your host, Jonathan Schechter. If you're interested in different methods and ways to transform your life, like plant medicines and psychedelics, breathwork, meditation, somatic practices, cold exposure, and so many more that we've talked about on this show, then my friends, you are in the right place. This podcast is not just for practitioners. It's also for you if you're new to transformational work and you're looking for more information and direction. The reason I chose the name The Vital Point is to highlight the most important secret to actually changing your life, regardless of the method or modality that interests you. Are you ready to hear it? The vital point is that you have to practice. You can't just listen or read about transformation, and most of the time you're not going to have some sort of one-time life-changing event. Real transformation is a process. I started this podcast to spotlight incredible leaders and practitioners who have experienced their own transformation and have been called to share their passion and mission with others so that you can benefit as well. If you're new to this type of work, welcome. I'm your host, Jonathan Schechter. I'm an integration and transformation coach, breathwork facilitator, been meditating for 19 years, and recently began teaching mindfulness. Breathwork and a lot of the other modalities and resources I talk about on this show are tools that I discovered when I was at my lowest, going through my own transformational journey. I know how much change they can actually bring because I've experienced it myself. I've experienced the transformation that comes from working, practicing, and integrating these experiences, these practices. My intention is not only to entertain, but that something that you hear on this podcast sparks the fire of your own change. When you do feel called to learn more, please send me or the guests a message. We are all here to grow together and support each other. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the show. On this episode of the podcast, I get into a different dimension of somatic work than we've discussed before here with my friend Karen Nitsche. Karen is a breathwork facilitator and yoga instructor, and also trained in a very interesting dance modality called contact beyond contact that fuses dance, authentic movement, somatic connection, qigong, and more. And I wanted to learn more about this modality because connecting to our bodies, what you could also call embodiment, is a direct method of transformation. It's also something that a lot of us are not very comfortable with. And Karen and I get into that on this episode as well. As Karen mentions during the podcast, dance and movement practices are a very primal way to connect to ourselves and can also be a catalyst for confronting many sensations stored in the body, as well as working with our relationship to different parts of ourselves and others. So I hope you enjoy this episode and that it inspires you to get up and move. Enjoy. Well, awesome. Welcome to another episode of The Vital Point, the podcast that's all about transformational work, transformational practices, information for practitioners and the curious as well. My guest today is a friend. We met in our neurodynamic breathwork training, and she is a multifaceted teacher, facilitator, instructor. I'm really happy to have her share her knowledge and information on the modalities that she teaches today. She is Karen Nitsche. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Hi.
So in addition to breathwork, which is where we met, I'm really fascinated to learn more about the other modalities that you practice, because on the podcast, we've talked a lot about different transformational practices. We've talked about different psychedelics and breathwork and meditation and ice baths. But some of the most popular episodes have actually been around different somatic practices. And from my perspective, especially as somebody that works with plant medicines and somebody that is working with people that are working with plant medicines, being in touch with our body, which is what somatic means, right, is something that is so key. And oftentimes when people start to go down this path of transformation, of healing, of changing themselves, they often find that they're really out of touch with their bodies. And so you are a facilitator and trainer of, I believe it's called Contact Beyond Contact, right?
Right. Yes.
As well as yoga and some other things. Am I missing any other ones?
Yeah, well, I do teach yoga as well, and I started to offer something called embodied movement sessions. And as you
Okay.
say, it's really focused on waking up this body wisdom, to connecting to this body wisdom that goes hand in hand with breath work, right? So, but we'll talk a bit more about it. But yes, I offer contact beyond contact, which I can explain a bit more what it's about, and other dance modalities, dance healing modalities, right? So really a form of movement therapy more than just a choreographed dance.
Yeah, so let's just jump in there with the Contact Beyond Contact. So tell us a little bit more about that practice and what that's all about.
Sure. So first, I would like to share about the base of movement, and really movement being seen as and dance in particular being seen as a very ancient healing modality,
Mm.
right? Because if you go back to indigenous communities, we see that dance is at the core of healing in ceremonies, in birth,
Mm.
in death. Like they are using dance to really express, right? And
Yeah.
and be in communion. So that comes from from this really fundamental, and how can I say, primal to our humanity, right? So we're communicating in a different way. We are just not only using our words, we're not using language, but we're using our body to really express and communicate and gather. So
Yeah.
it all comes from that, from this place at first, and we're just then using tools to remember it, right? A bit like breath work.
Mm.
And contact beyond contact, it's something very particular. It takes its roots in different modalities. So the first modality, and it's a blend of different modalities together. So the first one is contact improvisation, which is a dance improvisation modality that was created in the 70s. That's work with partners, right? So there is this really tangible way of communicating with each other where we are constantly in touch, like a part of our body is in touch with another. And from that, we improvise and create this beautiful dance, but um, it's all the starting point is the intuitive self. So we first connect to ourselves, we connect to our being, and then we connect to another being, and then we create this dance improvisation. So that's one of the tool from contact beyond contact. But in the word contact beyond contact, there is beyond, which is beyond the tangible, beyond the physical, right? So there is another tool that we use in contact beyond contact, which is authentic movement. And authentic movement is also another form of dance movement therapy that was created in the 50s. And it's all about unearthing, I like to use the word unearthing from within. So
Mm.
first, connect to yourself. You close your eyes, and mostly authentic movement is practice with your eyes closed. And then you connect to what's inside you, an emotion, a memory, an experience, something. and you let it move you. You let it express it through you. And the guide or the facilitator has the role of the witness, right? Because for the transformation to happen, we need this witness, we need this validation. So we are moving in a way, but we're seen, right? We're not only moving on our own, but there is somebody else that is holding us and seeing us, validating our experience. So there is the contact improvisation, the authentic movement part. It's really a big blend. We're using also some qigong practices. We are using a bit of yoga as well to warm up the body before we start the sessions. And then it's just a beautiful mix of tools to connect to yourself first and then connect to others. And to really look at your relationships with yourself, how you behave with yourself, and how your relationship with other people, with your partner, with your friends, and your relationship with the world and your relationship with nature even, right? It goes like beyond yourself. And we are in Contact Beyond Contact, we are connecting and integrating all the bodies. And in yoga, we talk about, right, the koshas, the different bodies. So we have this physical body, but we also have an emotional body, we have an energy body and a mental body, right? So in Contact Beyond Contact, we try to really integrate all those bodies and reconnect all those bodies together. So the heart, the mind, the physical and the spirit, to move toward wholeness, like in breathwork, but using our senses, using our bodies, using this amazing vessel that we have and that's been gifted to us. So, and it's usually a 2-hour workshop. It's been created, I forgot to mention, but it's been created by Vangelis Legakis, who is an amazing choreographer and dancer. And he also studied Buddhism and Taoism. And during his entire journey of dance, he realized, oh, something is missing. I really want to offer dance as a healing tool, as we used in the past. So he blended all those dances and healing modalities together and created Contact Beyond Contact, which we are just a few facilitators in the world. I think we're about 50 people now. And yeah, it's a beautiful modality, and also to use it as a tool to prepare for a breathwork session or to integrate for a breathwork session is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. It sounds like, especially the authentic movement piece, it sounds like something that would be really good for working with trauma, especially like that aspect of having the witness and being seen and really feeling supported and held, and being able to just express whatever wants to come out in the body.
Yeah, totally. And it's been a great way to work with trauma, especially because we are putting words on the side, right, as we do with breath work. So we can really process and connect to this body wisdom. And I love to think about the body as a library almost. It's, every emotions, every thoughts, every experience, everything is stored in the body. And through the authentic movement or through dance, we're just letting our body express and move anything that is stuck, really. And that's why breathwork and dance and Contact Beyond Contact or authentic movement goes really great together, because it's going towards the same goal, right?
Yeah. So the only sort of frame of reference for this practice, and I've seen some videos, through looking at it on your page and just, researching for the show. But the only sort of frame of reference that I have is ecstatic dance.
Yeah.
So would you say that ecstatic dance and contact beyond contact are similar?
It's not similar, but it comes from the same frame of work, right? Ecstatic dance has kind of the same concept, but you're more on your own. So you
Right.
connect and you have different rules, right, with ecstatic dance, and then you let your body express on the music, and what wants to come out comes out through the body as well. But with contact beyond contact, it goes deeper because we're working in partnership. And really, our goal is also to look at our relationships with others. And often the dance floor really becomes this like mirror of ourselves. And the other persons that we dance with and we are partnering with becomes mirrors as well. So we can identify triggers, we can identify patterns through dance, and then we analyze it at the end of the workshop. And during the workshop, we try to understand the way we dance, the way we move is a reflection of our life, and how can we integrate that, and how can we shine the light on some patterns and behaviors that we have in our lives and in this dance, in this pondering work. So I would say that's the main difference, but it's pretty different. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that work is a lot deeper and maybe somewhat more challenging, because my own experience with ecstatic dance is that there's even as I'm just trying to be in the moment and expressing and just being there and being present, there's a lot happening in my mind, of like, oh, is somebody looking at me, or what are these people doing? And then for me, it was like, oh, this is an opportunity to sit with these thoughts, to let them come up without like really getting caught up with them. But I'm not dancing with anybody, so I love the concept that that you have partners there that can mirror you, that can probably evoke some different emotions or some different triggers within the body. And then you're there with them and working through them, dancing through them. And I love that you mentioned that there's like an integration piece where you have a chance to talk about that and really explore that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, completely. It's fascinating because it's kind of scary, right? Especially for people that are not dancers. And
Right.
it's amazing to have people that are not dancers, because that's what we want, right? It's not about how it looks when you move or anything. It's really about using dance as a vehicle of expression, of communication, and I would say movement in general. And we're using really interesting tools, like even using kind of leadership skills as well. Like there is a leader and a follower, right? Sometimes
Mm.
in partner dance. So we're looking at, how does it feel when you are the follower? How does it feel when you're the leader? Uh, in your life, are you more leading or are you more following, right? How can you create balance?
Mm.
We also work on the conscious boundary. When is a clear no? When is a clear yes? How can I be more conscious about putting boundaries instead of saying yes because I feel obliged? But what is a clear yes? We are working all those little tools that are very, very interesting, especially if you come also with your partner, work with your loving partner or friend.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, really this kind of work is really connecting in a very primal way. You're connecting in a way that's beyond words. And words are, what does it say, like 10% of our communication.
Right.
So that other 90% is nonverbal. It's expressed through our body and through our face. And like you said, there's wisdom and experience that's stored in the body on this other level that maybe we're just kind of cut off from most of the time. So having that opportunity to really explore that, I can see it as a really deep tool, and having a lot of insights and experience come out of that, of like, wow, that was unexpected, or being able to go into the work with certain intention, you know, like I know in my, just certain people, especially within the breathwork space or the medicine space, specifically wanting to interact or stay away from, depending on where they're at, you know, people of the opposite sex or the same sex, because of, you know, interpersonal dynamics that they're working through. And so to have that opportunity to connect and like explore those parts in a very visceral way, you know, where you're in contact with them and in this expanded state, it just sounds really powerful.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And as you mentioned, it's really connecting and having the blend of the feminine and energy together, letting, right? Room. Uh, but yeah, it's very, I remember when I came across this practice, it was when I was traveling in Guatemala and I attended the class. Actually, I didn't attend the class. I was at an ecstatic dance and I started to see people dancing and I thought, oh, interesting, what are they doing? And they were not really doing contact, like tangible contact improv, but there was something more subtle. And I was looking from the side and I could even almost tell what was the story between them, right? And they were not sharing anything. They was just moving together. And I don't know if I was making up a story, but I could see a language. I could see a true connection, like a really true, authentic, really genuine human connection. And this is what brought me to this practice. And I wanted to learn because I'm also a former dancer, but I never experienced dance like that. So yeah, very, very transformative. And I would say really the goal of this practice is first self-development, right? Ourselves, relationships with ourselves and with others, but also human connection, true human connection. Nowadays, we're so kind of disconnected. Like often we're so disembodied as well. Like we're just walking zombies because we have this to-do list. We have this, you know, life gets in the way, and we don't even realize that we become those disembodied kind of robots. So it's, to me at least, it's very important to have those kind of practices to bring me back to my body and be, hey, this is my vessel, I'm here, I really want to be conscious, and explore. And it's so fun to explore as well through movement, even for people that are not dancers really. I know it can be very scary at first, but many people that came to the classes and workshops that were not dancers, the script completely flipped at the end. So beautiful to witness, because it's really a healing modality, not.
Yeah, I would say that if you are feeling a lot of fear or apprehension in your body, that's probably a really good invitation to actually explore that, right? Because if there was nothing there to work with, if you felt really neutral about it, then it wouldn't have so much of an emotional charge. But you know, just like in breath work, like the fact that there is that sensation coming up is really an invitation to explore, of like, well, what is coming up for me, and how can I explore that, and like what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? You're just going to spend a couple of hours looking a little silly maybe, and you know.
No, fear is always, I mean, right? I always say it's, you know, when you fear something, just go towards it. But
Yeah.
it's easy to say, and it's less easy to do and take the action. But that reminds me, one woman that came to a class in Ohio that I had, she thought it was ecstatic dance, and she didn't really understand what it was, and that will be working with partners, like really. And it's very intimate. We're creating this space where, you know, we are looking in the eyes of each other. We are with another being without without, you know, sexualizing or anything, just another being, and being very intimate with this person. And so I remember this woman who was at the beginning terrified because her biggest fear was to be in close contact with a stranger. And
Right.
so we worked through it, and at the end, it was amazing to witness her developments, because she had a huge breakthrough, and she was laughing, and she told me she just like went for it and surrendered to the experience, and it was a very healing moment for her, and and from that point that changed her relationships, even with her friends, with the family. Um, so what I'm trying to say is that, yes, fear, as you say, fear is great, and we just have to go towards it, and surrender to it. Sometimes it's the only way, as in breathwork. Same, yeah, and many other areas of life as well.
Yeah, what a wonderful story. I mean, that's the example right there of, you know, being open and being able to transform that fear and that apprehension, and just being open to exploring it and watching it change. You know, that must be very gratifying as a facilitator, and just somebody that, you know, is trying to share this, because like that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah, and it's beautiful to just witness the process of other human beings, because they are my teachers as well.
Mm,
Every person that I meet, what I see in them is already in me. Everything that I witness, opportunity also for me to look at my process. Uh, Not that I'm looking at my own process during the workshop, because not at all, right? I'm in this position of facilitator, but what I mean is I'm learning so much from it by teaching it, by sharing it, and even with same with breathwork, learning so much to just hold space for people. And the beauty of just holding space and letting it unfold, it's magic. It's pretty magical. And I do believe that we need more and more of those spaces where people can connect and be with each
yeah.
other. Because with COVID and everything, we've been so disconnected. Um,
Yeah, definitely. So how has your breathwork practice been going since we split from our training program?
oh, I mean, it's been ups and downs. I really enjoy offering breath work, but I realize for me it's mostly in-person breath work that I really enjoy. I mean, I've been doing some online, but my main workshops are in person in California. And I've been pretty lucky to be in a place where I can hold space. Sorry, I need to plug my phone. So yeah, I've been doing. One second, sorry about that.
No worries.
I know. So I've been doing mostly in-person workshops. Yeah.
And then, like, in terms of a container, are you offering breath work with some of these movement practices, like combined, or are you keeping those mainly separate?
I'm gonna hold my phone like this if it's fine. Yes. So I'm actually starting what I've been offering is, I call it embodied movement sessions to prepare the body to dive into the breathwork sessions, and also as a tool to integrate the breathwork session. So, for instance, to integrate, I use authentic movement more than any other tools. So I'm trying with different movement tools, but lately I've been doing integration with authentic movement right after the breathwork session. So it's the 3-hour workshop. We're starting with an intro talk, then we have the meditation, the breathwork session, and then at the end we do 20 minutes of authentic movement, and then a sharing circle at the end. Yeah, and it's been so powerful because first it's something that I've been experiencing myself with my own breathwork sessions, and I found that dance and this power and the power of movement was so in line with the doors that we're opening when we do a breathwork session. I see breathwork as more of a door that you open, and it's like this big entrance to the subconscious and to leading towards experience. And then at the end, the movement helps really to integrate and bring the experience back to the body, to feel really in the body what we saw, what we felt, or if there is any tensions that are in the body still, we process it through. And then we talk, but really at the end, we're using words at the end, after the 3 hours are passed.
Yeah, I love that. Just being able to really connect in that same primal way of being in touch with this other level that we're not necessarily tapping into all the time. And that, like you said, like the breath work really invites you into.
Breathwork is really a door. If I could put a visual, it's like opening this door, and then there is this long path of any kind of experience you can have, like spiritual or physical or perinatal, and then at the end, what do we do with it? And you're really specialized in integration, but the main question is, what do we do with it? And if we don't do anything with it, then it's just gone. And so the movement is really, as you say, primal, and where we're connecting the experience to the body, because let's not forget that we are human beings, and this body is our first way to really communicate with each other, and we have everything imprinted within us. So it's great integration tool.
Yeah, I really like that reminder that you gave us about, everything being held and stored in the body. Even the things that we're not aware of or that we have forgotten in the thinking mind, the body still holds on to that. And I think, unfortunately, most people only connect to that in like a really like a negative way. They only really experience that when some sort of anxiety or some sort of stress comes up in the body.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's not just that sort of stress. It can also be joy and, bliss and feeling good. It's not just the negative.
Totally. And that's the great reminder too, that we have joy and love and hope stored in us, and it's just a way to access it, especially in difficult times as well, when we go through grief or we go through any kind of trauma that really disconnect ourselves to our bodies, because we have these tendencies as humans to how do you say in English, dissociate ourselves. So it's really about how can we bring us back to our body and experience joy and hope and fear and sadness, and all those emotions are valid, and we are made of all that, and it's totally okay to experience it, and especially through movement, we are able to express it without really putting any meaning behind it, like really putting any really thoughts behind it. We're just processing.
Right, and that's, to me, that's like one of the keys there, right? Is just to be, just to express, mm-hmm. without having any movement behind it. Even thinking about, like, I mean, I'm not a dancer, so obviously this is an area a lot more about than I do, but just thinking about how we dance in just sort of our regular lives, a lot of times there's a goal, or there's a beginning and an end, and a very sort of defined container. It's almost like an exercise or something that we're doing, right, rather than just a practice of being, which sounds more like the contact beyond contact and the authentic movement is exploring. And, you know, in that way, it becomes like a meditation, you know, an embodiment of our presence and ourselves.
Yeah, totally. And it's exactly that. It's I like that you use the word embodiment, because really embodied, there is such a hype around this word lately, but really embodied means fully landing in our body. How can I fully land in this body? And yeah, it's we as you say, when we dance, we might have this idea of dance as a choreography, as an exercise, as following really something, someone, and the invitation here is not to do that at all. It's, you can be as wired as you want. You can really, it's a space of deconstructing and not following anything or anyone except yourself and what you really want to express. And then we work with tools, but this is the dance floor. It doesn't become a stage at all. The dance floor is a place where we gather in community and we heal together. Yeah, and we're all in the same process, a bit like in breathwork as well, where we say we have this energetic group of support, right, with all the breathers. Well, the mover is exactly the same. There is this big nets of support, and it's safe, and it's beautiful, and it doesn't have to look any certain way, and everyone are welcome as well. Yeah.
What do you think is a good way for people to start to create more embodiment in their lives and be more connected to themselves and to their body? Like, you know, I'm sure you've worked with people that are sort of brand new, and you can kind of see or feel like the resistance that comes up. So like, what are some good ways to really begin to explore these things that you're talking about?
Well, it's a great question. There are like many ways, but I would say with people that are like have a little bit of resistance, one tool that I give always at the beginning for newcomers is to close your eyes, right? And the first thing is really, you want to connect to your senses. So first you want to connect to your sensations. So closing your eyes, really making sure that you are on the ground, like you're barefoot, you're touching the ground. Because the physical it sends a signal to your brain, especially if you're grounded, if you're on the floor, if you feel the floor, give a signal to your brain, I am safe, I am here, right? There is one great tool is when we have anxiety or panic attacks that I give to people often, is to pinch their thumbs here, because if you pinch your thumb, it brings you right back into your body. So it's kind of the same. You close your eyes, you make sure you touch the ground, and you start from there. You just breathe. Scan your body. Start from the feet and go all the way up to the head and down. And just that, you become more conscious of your vessel first. And then we start from there. But I think, especially for people that have resistance, and also to be in a group setting, or scared to be judged, or a little bit shy, or all that. First part, close your eyes, land here, connect to your body. Then we start from, and then we.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great advice. Yes, connecting to the earth and connecting to where we feel connected. Really just reminding yourself that you are in this body. And
As simple as that.
Yeah.
And also, if there is any, what I like to do is when we do the first scan of the body, if there is any tension in your body, or if there is any places that really grasp your attention. Let's say you close your eyes, you scan your body, and you arrive in your shoulders, and here it grasps your attention, is like super blocked, or you didn't even notice before, but you're like this, right? Just like send some breath, send some movement, and start to slowly move the body part, right? Until it dissolves, or maybe it becomes less painful. And as you do that, it really starts a movement, it creates a movement. And the attention, you will see, is going to focus in different parts of the body. It's going to land somewhere else. And maybe where it's going to land next time is not a tense, painful area, but maybe it's a place where you feel open, where you feel already in expansion, right? Maybe it's the heart. And then you let yourself land there, right? And you see the difference between the first, the tension, and the second part, which is more open and more spacious. And you try to navigate in between and see how it feels. So it's all about really connecting to the sensations without putting any label really on it or trying to fix it or figure it out.
That reminds me of like the pendulation within somatic experiencing. So like really connecting to a place where you feel safe and secure and grounded, and then being able to move between that space and maybe a place that feels a little bit more uncomfortable or less inviting to be in. But just knowing that you can always go back to that place where you do feel safe and secure, and noticing that they're not the same, noticing that there is a difference and that you can move between them and not be overwhelmed by one or the other, especially the discomfort.
Totally. And this is all part of you. This is all part of us, right? There are places where we're going to be tensed and maybe have a little bit more fear to go towards because we know it's our delicate spot, or there is a trauma stored somewhere, or something is stored that it doesn't feel right. But there is also the joyful and the more open side of our bodies, and it's all about balance as well. And we put to that.
Wow, that's a good reminder.
Yeah. And as you said, grounding and feeling safe is really the starting point. We can't really move and go into this practice if we don't feel grounded, if we don't practice this presence. It's really presence awareness. It starts from the presence awareness.
Yeah. Awesome. Where can people learn more about Contact Beyond Contact, or about working with you specifically?
So Contact Beyond Contact, everyone can learn about it in depth on the Unity Space. I will send you the link, but it's called unityspace.com. It's the website of the creator of Vangelis Legakis, who is the creator of Contact Beyond Contact, and as well as on my website, KarenNitche.com. And I offer sessions in Ojai and Santa Barbara in California. But if you go on the United Space website, I know they have, I believe they have the facilitators listed. And you can find, they have facilitators all around the world. Not that many, but I know you can find a few in Europe, a few in the US, and a few in Asia. So yeah. And for my own workshops, it's on my website or my Instagram, Karen.Nitsche. Yes.
Awesome. And I think I saw something about your doing some more work with Michael Stone and neurodynamic breathwork, right? Like some moving practices?
Yes, we are going to do, so Michael and I, we are going to start, I'm going to offer the subscribers of the community an embodied movement preparation. So it will be a 50 minutes gentle movement session before they dive in the breathwork session with Michael. And it will be on Wednesday, June 15. I believe it's on the website of Neurodynamic Breathwork.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. That sounds like a great opportunity to continue that work with Michael.
Yeah, it's great. And I love the Neurodynamic Breathwork community, where we both come from. So we met.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So if you're in Ojai or Santa Barbara, definitely check out Karen's offerings. I know you teach some yoga as well, right?
I do. I teach in Ojai at a studio called Light and Space, where I give as well the Contact Beyond Contact and breathwork sessions. So and it's on Tuesday evening. But if you really want to know about all the offerings, you can sign up also on my newsletter in my Instagram. There is the little link in my bio, and there is a link where you can sign on the newsletter. Yeah, that's why I sent all my offerings to everyone.
Awesome. Well, everybody listening should go ahead and do that. And Karen, thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing this information about this wonderful modality with us. It's just so great to continue to learn about all the different practices that are out there to really help us transform and become more embodied, become more present, and more connected to each other.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for asking me to be here and having me to share a bit of what I love to do the most. It really fills my heart to bring people together, to help each other, like connect authentically with other beings on this journey called life.
Yeah, I can really feel that within your presence as you're talking about that, and it's not just that I know you. Is that was the other thing, was like I know that you're passionate about this, and it's really interesting to me, and that's part of what I want to do is continue to share these practices with people and give them more information so that they know all the different ways that they can connect and continue to grow that are out there. So, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. And I also appreciate everybody that joined in the live. If you're watching or watching on the replay, thank you so much. And if you are listening to the audio on Spotify or Apple, please give the podcast a review. Would love that, and it would help to continue to get the word out to more people, get more visibility for the show. So if you can leave a review, I definitely would appreciate that. And once again, thank you so much for being here with us, with myself and Karen Nitsche on the Vital Point podcast. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the podcast. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you feel inspired to go and do some practice of your own. Remember that integration and practice is the vital point. Maybe this episode inspired you to add something new to your daily or regular practice, like meditation or breath work. Or you're ready to take that ice bath that you've been dreading, but you know is going to be really good for you. Maybe you're curious to something that you've been called to try, like working with a new teacher or facilitator, or working with psychedelic or plant medicine in whatever way is safe and legal for you where you live. Please reach out to me or to the guest through the links on the show page to learn more about what we talked about on this episode. Subscribe to the podcast and please leave us a review, which really helps the show, makes it visible to more people. And if you're finding the show valuable, please share it with a friend that would also be interested, and share it on your social media. Follow me at Blue Magic Alchemy on Instagram. That's all one word. And if you're interested in learning more about breathwork, or you'd like support with self-development and transformational practice, reach out to me at bluemagicalchemy@gmail.com or Instagram to set up a discovery call for individual coaching sessions and my 6-month transformational coaching container. Until next time, be well, keep practicing, because that's the vital point. Be well, my friends.